Okay.
Tell a story.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell a story, and then if you're really quiet and good, then you can tell a story after that, okay?
Hi, Rebekah.
Hey, Sammy. Hey, Jacob. Okay, so my story is pretty sobering. I hope it's okay for kid ears. But so the summer before I met Tyler, I went to China and volunteered with orphans. My little sister is adopted from China. And I was supposed to be going, originally I was supposed to be going to a government-run orphanage, but I wasn't able to go there at the last minute. So I went to a place called Starfish Foster Home. And it was a very special place. So in China, at least at the time, I don't know what it is like now, but at least at the time, you could only call something an orphanage if it was run by the government. Otherwise, it was called a foster home. So this was a foster home, but they had about 50 babies. So it was basically a private orphanage. And just a day or two after I got there, I had the opportunity to go on a taxi with some other volunteers and with Amanda, who ran the orphanage, to go get some babies from the government-run orphanage. And what they would do is there would be a lot of babies at the government-run orphanage that were sick and not taken well care of, and so Amanda would go get some and bring them to Starfish, where they would take good care of them and get them healthy. So I went on the taxi, and we went and picked out 7 babies that day. We went into the sick room, and there were lots of babies in the sick room. I'll never forget, just crib after crib after crib. They had 2 babies per each crib. Apparently they had 3 until recently, but they had lost a bunch recently because there had been a sickness going through. And Amanda picked out the babies that were the very sickest. Sometimes you'd have babies that would have mostly Starfish would take babies from the orphanage if they had like a heart defect or a cleft palate or some disability, because due to the culture, they didn't get taken as good care of if they had something like that. And so she gathered up some of the babies and had us carry them back on the taxi, and she told us, make sure we had little bottles, and she told us, make sure you just feed them the tiniest little bit, because their bodies can't handle having a lot, because they're not used to having enough to eat. But the most heartrending, impactful thing for me is Amanda had gained the trust of the people at the orphanage, and she was able to find out that there was a room where they had left a baby just to die. I don't know why. They had just left him in there, and she was able to convince them to let her go back there and see him. And they let her bring him out and tried to convince her not to. Apparently they were like, oh no, he's sickly, you don't want him. But she was able to talk them into letting her bring him, and he was very close to death. Like, his eyes, I remember seeing, I was 20 years old at the time. I remember seeing his eyes were like glazed over, and he was just skin and bones. It was like pictures I'd seen of the Holocaust. He was close to dying. And so we took him and 6 other babies, and we got on the taxis and put them. And then I was there in China for the next 2 weeks helping take care of these babies. And the crazy thing for me was seeing during just those 2 weeks the changes that took place with those babies, including little Cameron, who we had found in the dying room. Even just in 2 weeks, they started to get just tiniest little bit of pink in their cheeks, and his eyes started to be able to see more clearly. And they just started to get healthier, and you'd see babies who had been there for a year or 2 at Starfish, and they'd be like big fat chubby Buddha babies and so healthy. And in fact, about 6 months later, after I got back from China, I had been wondering what had happened to Cameron. To be honest, I had been scared to even ask, because I didn't know if he had made it. But I was on Facebook, and I saw a post from Starfish of a picture of a about 8-month-old, healthy, chubby little baby boy, and ended up finding out that that was Cameron, and that he was doing beautifully. And fast forward about, wow, maybe 3 years ago, not even that many years ago, I was on Facebook again. I guess some good things come from Facebook. And I saw a random post from someone who had worked at Starfish, and it connected me to a page of a random lady I'd never met before. And it turned out that this lady had adopted Cameron. And I saw some pictures of him, now a 9-year-old kid with 3 big sisters. There was a video of him teaching his little sisters how to read. And, he's got a great family and a happy life, thanks to Starfish Foster Home. It's just a really...
Have you ever seen him again?
Just in the videos and pictures that his adoptive mom
Have you
sent
talked
me.
to him?